You've probably heard the word data tossed around a ton, especially when we're talking about AI. But what does it actually mean?
Welcome to Super Courseva, where we break down AI, technology, and future skills into simple lessons.
Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down and show you why data is, quite literally, the fuel for the AI engine.
So, when I say the word data, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it a giant, soul-crushingly boring spreadsheet? Just endless rows and columns of numbers? If it is, you're not alone. But what if I told you that's just a tiny, tiny piece of the puzzle?
Because the real story of data, the secret, isn't about numbers at all. It's about examples. And that right there, that's the key to unlocking its incredible power.
All right, so first things first, let's totally reframe what we think data is, because it is so much more than just spreadsheets.
Okay, let's boil it down to the simplest possible idea. Data is any piece of information, any at all, that you can give to a computer to help it learn. It's not about raw numbers, it's about providing examples. You're basically handing the machine a textbook full of case studies for it to learn from.
So how does this whole teaching with examples thing actually work in the real world? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of it.
At its very core, most of the AI we use today is all about learning one simple relationship. How to get from an input, let's call it A, to an output, which we'll call B. You just show it A enough times, and it starts to figure out B all on its own.
And this isn't some abstract theory. It's super practical. Let's say you want to predict house prices. Input A would be all the details about a house. Its size in square feet, how many bedrooms it has. And output B, that's the final sale price. The data you'd feed the AI is just a massive list of these A's and B's. After seeing thousands, maybe millions of these examples, the AI gets really good at spotting the patterns that connect them.
And hey, remember, data is not just numbers. If your goal is to teach an AI to recognize cats, then input A is the picture itself. You'd feed it millions of images, with some labeled, "This is a cat," and others labeled, "This is not a cat." In this scenario, the pictures and the simple labels you give them, that's the data.
Okay, this all sounds pretty cool, but it brings up a huge question, right? Where on earth do companies get all of these millions and millions of examples?
Well, it usually comes down to one of three main ways. First, there's manual labeling. And yeah, that's literally people sitting there tagging those cat photos one by one. Second, and this is a big one, is by observing our behavior. Every time you're online, every click, every Google search, every YouTube video you binge, that's a data point that tells a story about what you like. And finally, of course, companies can download massive public data sets or team up with other companies to share information.
All right, now for the not-so-glamorous part. This leads us to one of the single biggest headaches in the entire world of AI, the problem of messy data.
See, you can't just shovel raw information into an AI and expect magic to happen. It just doesn't work that way. Real-world data is, to put it mildly, a complete mess. It's often full of typos, missing information, or just plain old inconsistencies, like having a single date column with 5 different formats. And all of that has to be cleaned up before it's even remotely useful.
So, on the one hand, you have the dream, right? This beautiful, clean, perfectly organized data that an AI can just zip through. But on the other hand, well, you have the reality that most companies face, this messy, error-filled jumble. And get this, a huge chunk of what AI professionals do is basically digital janitor work, just sorting through and cleaning up this mess.
So, to help us wrap our heads around all this, we can pretty much split all the data in the world into 2 big buckets: the organized stuff and, well, the wild stuff.
On one side, you have what we call structured data. This is your comfort zone, those neat, tidy spreadsheets and database tables we talked about. Everything has its place. But then, there's unstructured data. And this is basically everything else. It's the Wild West. We're talking photos, audio files, the text in your emails, social media posts, and here's the kicker. The vast majority of the world's data is this unstructured wild stuff. Teaching an AI to make sense of that is where all the really exciting, game-changing progress is happening right now.
So if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. Forget the idea of data as just boring spreadsheets. It's so much bigger than that. Data is the language we use to communicate with computers. It's how we show them millions of examples so they can start to learn and hopefully understand the world.
And that leaves us with a pretty powerful thought to chew on. If data really is the language of AI, and we're the ones teaching it, what are we going to teach it to say? What problems will we teach it to solve?
The possibilities really aren't defined by the machine itself. They're defined by the data we choose to give it.